Where'd you put my vibrator? I didn't even know I had it. Well, maybe I did. I kind of borrowed it one night when my lovely wife was out of town. It didn't do nothing for me, so I kind of threw it in the river, forgot to give it back to him, but what can you do? After beating me to a bloody pulp, he basically told me he gave me his blessing to marry his daughter. Which I thought was great, considering they were married anyway. There's nothing that damn thing to do about it. But a few years later, we had our first son. His name was Nathaniel. And I'll never forget the doctor to what he said about my son right there in the delivery room. It was just so beautiful. He said, "You know how fast you were going?" Yeah, apparently, my wife went a little too fast with the delivery, and he couldn't keep up. Not my wife's fault. It's just the fast person to give birth to our son. What do you do about that? A few months, like 9 months later, Nathaniel said his very first word. I'll never forget it. He crawled up to me with his thumb in his mouth. He's so precious with his little blue eyes, and said, "Where the hell did the ceiling go?" He was a troubled little child. But, we had a ceiling. It was just not done yet. Because we were in the middle of rebuilding the house. And we didn't have enough money to stay at a hotel room, so we decided to, stay in the house. Because, yeah, it was just that thing to do, I guess. And, sure, we had lots of raccoons and bears coming in all the time, but there's nothing to worry about. Sure, I couldn't sleep with my wife for 2 months after a skunk sprayed me, but you know, it's all good. A few years later, I bought my very first car. It was one of those crank 'em up cars, but it was a car nonetheless. And on the bumpers, they had a little bumper sticker on the back of it. But you didn't know they had bumper stickers back then. But that is the most interesting bumper sticker that got me to buy this car. It said, "There's a cat on my windshield." And look, sure enough, there was. What do you know about that? Why the cat was on there, I don't know. But it was the most friendliest cat I've ever met. Despite it only having one leg and one eye, it was an ugly friendly cat, but friendly cat nonetheless. I brought that ugly cat back to my place, and my wife looked at it, and she said, Now we need is the baby. I didn't know the cat had babies. To be totally honest with you, I didn't even know what the hell it was. It was so damn ugly. I had no idea what the hell it was. Female or male? No clue. It was a strange looking cat, so it was hard to even tell. The next day, I found out, the next day, I found out that the poor cat died. Somehow my children have gotten a hold of it, and it was not a pretty picture, let me tell you. According to my wife, she told me the kids were saying really interesting things when they were like playing with it and trying to like chew on it because they were like teething. And she said, "You need to get some Viagra." But my sex life wasn't enough for her. I had to get Viagra in order to please her. What is up with that? I mean, I thought our sex life was good and strong. Apparently not. She wanted Viagra. Like once a week wasn't enough for the damn woman. You had to fuck like rabbits in order for her to get pleasure of any kind. I should have married her brother. Would have been better. Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway. A few years later, me and your grandma decided to move to Florida, where the weather is always warmer and nicer, and a lot more old folks like us are down there. And she had met her best friend named Bessie. Bessie was a very interesting lady. I met Bessie a few days after we moved down there. And her first words to me were, "Doctor said if I turns blue, stop holding it." Yeah. Me and my wife had a really open relationship, so Bessie liked to grab my balls and just give them a tight squeeze. Like I said, my wife was never satisfied with her sex life. We always had to add people or certain things to the mix. She's a very kinky lady. So, if you ever were to be a stranger, this is what she would do. She'll bring them home and either try getting me to please them or her please them. But normally I would always tell her, "No, we can't do this because if you grab just right, the top will come off." Yeah, my penis is not real. Not real at all. If you grab it just right, the top will just come right off, and it's very messy. I know you kids shouldn't be hearing this, but I just had to tell you this story. To end things, I would just like to say that me and Bessie and your grandma still have this interesting relationship.